It was 1977. Charles came to stay as a friend of my sister Sarah's for a shoot. We sort of met in a ploughed field.
Well, I remember thinking what a very jolly and amusing and attractive 16-year-old she was. And having great fun and bouncy and full of life and everything. And I don't know what you thought of me. But...
Pretty amazing.
I think if Princess Diana and Prince Charles had been ordinary people, they'd have probably got divorced a lot sooner than they eventually did.
Are you planning, you must be planning for the future, where you're going to live and this sort of thing?
Oh, yes, yes. I mean, I've got this house in Gloucestershire, which I acquired last year.
With marriage in mind?
No, not really. I mean, I did want somewhere very much as a base, and I wanted somewhere which was nearer to the Duchy of Cornwall areas that I could reach then and visit people and look at the farms and things. And so that was very convenient. But obviously, it's been a great help.
Madam, how are you enjoying married life?
Highly recommend.
How do you like Balmoral as a place?
Lovely.
You had this period of several years where they were sleeping in separate bedrooms. Apparently, post-1986, they were leading rather separate lives, not just staying in different rooms, but on different floors of the palace.
But even still, the princess tried to make her marriage work, and she never actually wanted a divorce.
What were the expectations that you had for married life?
I think like any marriage, especially when you've had divorced parents like myself, you'd want to try even harder to make it work, and you don't want to fall back into a pattern that you've seen happen in your own family. I desperately wanted to work. I desperately loved my husband, and I wanted to share everything together. And I thought that we were a very good team.
She said, "I'll have a separation, but I don't want to be divorced. For the children's sake, I want us to remain a family unit, to bring them up as parents."
See, look. There's a lot to be done. It's going to be marvellous to have somebody to help sort it out.
Lady Diana's father described her this morning as, he said he thought she'd make a very good housewife.
Oh, that's nice that you said that.
We've yet to see.
It's just so beautiful. I'm just so privileged. I can't believe I did that.
Was she as pretty as you expected her to be?
Oh, prettier than ever. More prettier than ever.
Diana didn't have the happiest of childhoods. Her parents separated when she was younger, so she came from a broken home, and I think perhaps there was an insecurity that a seed was sown from a young age, and that insecurity was something that flourished actually within her as she got older.
The couple had arrived separately at St Paul's, but a crowd of about 3,000 had built up their enthusiasm unmistakable. Prince Charles was so relaxed he nearly came to grief on the top step. And when it was over, all the stress of the last few days evaporated as Prince Charles clasped Lady Diana's hand reassuringly and unaffectedly. She seemed to recover all her old charm and poise, sitting close beside him as they drove off together.
Just as Charles fell immediately in love with Princess Diana, or Lady Diana Spencer as she was at the time, so too did Britain. We hadn't seen the likes of a future princess like this for many, many years, and Diana was just a stunner. I mean, that picture that Arthur Edwards took of her coming out of her nursery in that see-through dress, that set of pins that she sported, the innocence about her, you just thought, wow, this girl is knockout. There was a huge interest from the moment the engagement happened. Everyone watched the engagement footage. Everyone around the world, pretty much, tuned into the royal wedding. I mean, that was a huge event in '81.
Before he left home, Lord Spencer, the proudest of men today, wanted a few words.
I'd just like to say a word. May I say a word?
Please do.
Yes. The Spencers have, through the centuries, fought for their king and country. Today, Diana is vowing to help her country for the rest of her life. She will be following in the tradition of her ancestors, and she will have at her side the man she loves.
And then, just after 10:30, from Clarence House came the glass coach, and our first chance to see Lady Diana, dress half-glimpsed, veil tantalizingly lowered.
It was the fairy tale wedding.
The princess made a fatal mistake. She fell in love with her prince. In the very beginning, she totally adored him.
And so Lady Diana, in that truly stunning dress, is well and truly launched on her way to the cathedral. Because this is the moment where she could exercise that traditional bride's prerogative of being late, but somehow I don't think she will.
I saw correspondence between them. I saw correspondence from the princess to the queen, which said how happy she was, and how she loved to be a wife, and how much she would support Charles in his future career. They were her views, but times changed. In the beginning, she was a shy, naive, quiet girl who knew nothing about the world. She was thrown in at the deep end and told to swim.
Well, I think now when we reflect on it and after we've seen interviews that Diana gave subsequently, we know that she was extremely ill-prepared for married life into the royal family, and she felt enormous pressure from day one. Even when they were discussing the engagement and the wedding plans, I think the pressure started to build on her.
Lady Diana was back at the Pimlico kindergarten where she teaches this morning, but polite as ever, she was saying nothing about her weekend with Prince Charles at Sandringham to the assembled press corps.
The media scrutiny of Lady Di, as she was then, I think, played foremost on her mind. She didn't know how she needed to behave. And when she actually entered married life, she found it a very lonely experience. Charles was off enjoying his country pursuits, and she felt that she was left rather in a world she didn't recognise, a modern woman in quite an old school environment of Buckingham Palace, essentially feeling like a spare part.
Well, Diana made it very clear that she felt like a fish out of water. Even before her actual wedding, she said she spent those nights before her wedding at Clarence House, which was then the Queen Mother's residence. And the night before her wedding was one of the most miserable of her life. She recalls how she felt completely isolated, you know, the images of the princess trapped in the tower. I think she felt isolated, and I don't think that the palace were prepared for someone who perhaps didn't have that royal training to marry into the royal family and to become a future queen. She was the Princess of Wales, she became famous overnight, and she didn't really have the tools to equip her for such immediate stardom.
I think there was an acceptance from Diana that she was going to be one of the world's most photographed women, and she actually grew in that role and became more confident with the press. I think she found her role as the world's most photographed woman both suppressing but kind of a revelation to her, in that she had this ability to perhaps manipulate the media, have a bit of a laugh and joke with photographers and reporters alike, and equally use this global presence for good, and that's how she got into her charitable work.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will not delay you long, but I would like to add a few words about Turning Point from my own personal observation. On the basis of available statistics, there could be several people here tonight who will reach a state of mental imbalance in the next year or so. Those who feel most immune may be the least secure, especially in this chameleon world. A crisis might be triggered up by the breakup of a marriage, the loss or change of a job, or the trial of an accident or bereavement. Eating disorders, whether it be anorexia or bulimia, show how an individual can turn the nourishment of the body into a painful attack on themselves.
Do you know, I think the princess's problems stem from childhood. I think because she was abandoned as a child, because her mother ran away to Australia when Diana was young, I think the princess felt as if she wasn't good enough. James Hewitt came along at a time when the princess was first looking for someone to love.
I have no comment. No comment, I'm afraid.
Will you be prepared to make a comment to us later on in the day?
No, I have no comment.
He just happened to be there. He just happened to be a dashing cavalry officer. He just happened to push all the right buttons. I have to tell you, he was there after Prince Harry was born, not before Prince Harry was born, because there's a great myth in the world that people think that Harry is James Hewitt's son. That's impossible. She didn't know James Hewitt at that time. You have to look at the chronological order of the way things happened.
Good. I'm going off here. That's enough. Thanks. Okay.
So Harry was born. Prince Charles had told her, "I don't love you. I only married you to have children." She then begins to look for someone to love. And James Hewitt was there. I was the one she trusted. No one else knew of this relationship. And I would ferry him to and from Highgrove, from Kemble railway station, in the back of my car, and take him back to the train station when they'd had tea or he'd spent the night. But this was a real big secret. The other big secret I was keeping was, of course, Prince Charles was seeing Camilla Parker Bowles. No one knew. The world didn't know at that stage.
For the first few years, it seemed this royal honeymoon would never end. But behind the scenes, it was all very different.
princess's popularity gave the royal family a new lease of life.
Modernisation is a very hard word to use in the context of the royal family because the royal family is built on history and tradition and protocol, and you know, Diana really broke the mould. She did things differently.
She enjoyed life, you know, she was a vibrant person, she was charming, she was the daughter of an earl, she'd been married, well, she was just 20 years old when she got married, and her life had been very prescribed for her within the royal family. But nevertheless, she still asserted herself, and after she got used to being a princess, she became more and more her own person. And that's what people loved about her.
In the early days, Diana's light was small, but it began to shine brighter and brighter and brighter. And it was a sort of a Star is Born situation. Prince Charles would say to her, "Well, I married you, I made you a princess. You weren't born royal. This is a man who's been born to be king. This is a man who has been treated from the very beginning as a god. Suddenly being eclipsed by this woman, he wasn't very happy."
Well, I think Princess Diana, like the rest of the world, was caught up in the fairy tale that was her own royal relationship. And I think very quickly the reality set in that she didn't have much in common with Prince Charles, and actually they were very different people with very different interests. And that's when the cracks started appearing.
It's a tremendous change for someone, if I may say, of 19 to make all of a sudden, the transition.
It is, but I've had a small run-up to it all in the last 6 months. And next to Prince Charles, I know I can't go wrong. He's there with me.
The Prince of Wales had just been on TV to admit adultery with Camilla Parker Bowles. And the princess that evening was due to go out to the Serpentine Gallery to see her old friend Lord Palumbo and open his new exhibition. "I can't go. I'm not going. I'm not going. It'll be too humiliating. The whole world now knows that Charles has been having an affair. He's admitted it." "You are going," I said. "I've got nothing to wear." "Yes, you have got something to wear." I went up to her wardrobe room and picked out a Christina Strambolian dress with a fishtail. "This is what you're going to wear," I said. "High heels and those jewels. Remember, when you go out there," I said, "you stride, you hold your head high, you smile, you engage, firm handshake. Say to yourself, I am Diana, Princess of Wales, and I am here to stay. I am the mother of the future King of England." Say it to yourself. Say it.
The announcement that Camilla Parker Bowles and her husband are to divorce has reignited speculation over the marriage of the Prince and Princess of Wales. According to the Prince's authorised biography, he and Mrs. Parker Bowles have had 3 affairs over a period of more than 20 years. Today's announcement led one noted royal watcher to speculate that any move now by Prince Charles to divorce and marry Mrs. Parker Bowles could imperil the monarchy.
The admission made the front pages and prompted this question.
Someone other than Diana could be Queen one day.
The Prince of Wales has made it clear that he has no intention of remarrying once his divorce comes through. In a statement, he was attempting to quash speculation that he might marry Camilla Parker Bowles, the woman he's admitted having an affair with. This followed last night's disclosure that the Queen had written to the Prince and Princess of Wales suggesting an early divorce.
picture. You stand where you are. Can you keep the same arm? Very much. Thank you very much.
I think this morning's papers are the beginning of a vox pop process, which seems to be indicating that the British people would very reluctantly accept Mrs. Parker Bowles as a substitute for Diana as a future queen.
Today, Prince Charles was keeping a long distance from the cameras as he left Scotland after a weekend at Balmoral, together with his 2 sons. In the latest extract from Jonathan Dimbleby's biography in today's Sunday Times, it's claimed that he's had 3 separate affairs with Camilla Parker Bowles. She was today also keeping a low profile, spending the weekend with her husband at their home in Wiltshire.
3 calls within 3 weeks could all be captured on tape by radio hands.
Camilla Parker Bowles, whose relationship with the Prince of Wales was confirmed last year, is to divorce. Mrs. Parker Bowles and her husband issued a statement this morning saying they'd grown apart in recent years and had little of common interest left in their lives. You see, Camilla Parker Bowles has been that ghost, always there throughout the princess's life. So, Princess Diana didn't stand a chance, really. She tried, but then she failed. And after Harry was born, Prince Charles told her, "I never really loved you, and now I'm going back to Camilla."
The only secret Diana ever kept from me was the Martin Bashir interview for Panorama. Now, I'd known Martin Bashir for a long time, and he was one of the men that I used to bring into the palace under a blanket because he didn't want to be seen by anyone. He was never a lover of the princesses. He was just a work associate. He persuaded the princess that she had to have a voice. She needed to tell her story, and what better a vehicle than Panorama? I was sent home on a Sunday afternoon. Strange, I thought. Why would she be sending me home? Go and spend some time with your family. I'm doing nothing this afternoon. Don't worry about me. The minute I'd left the palace, in through the back door comes Martin Bashir and his camera crew. And they set up the Prince of Wales sitting room, which she used for that interview.
At the age of 19, you always think you're prepared for everything, and you think you have the knowledge of what's coming ahead. But although I was daunted at the prospect at the time, I felt I had the support of my husband-to-be.
I had no idea that was being done. The next morning I came to work, I noticed all the furniture had been moved. Why have you moved the furniture? It's not in the same place. I had a dance class. I had to move the furniture out of the way just so that we could exercise. Strange. Very strange. She avoided me for the next 2 days, never spoke to me. How strange, I thought. She's hiding something. And then she told me that she'd made a recording with Martin Bashir for Panorama. What have you said? Well, I just put the record straight, she said. We didn't know what she'd said until we saw it.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
31 million people stopped in their tracks on that Monday night and couldn't believe what they were seeing. The Princess of Wales bearing her heart on national television. We couldn't take our eyes away from it. We couldn't believe what we were hearing. There are 3 people in my marriage. My husband isn't fit for the top job. I think it would bring him limitations. She was honest, open, and frank. Did you love James Hewitt?
Yes, it did. Yes.
Were you unfaithful?
Yes, I adored him. Yes, I was in love with him. But I was very let down.
It was all there. I couldn't believe it. It was too raw for most people and an embarrassment for the royal family. That was the final straw. That was the straw that broke the back of the House of Windsor. From that moment on, Diana was outcast. Her titles were stripped. She was no longer prayed for in church. She was on her own. Life with Diana was 24/7. My wife said, there are 3 people in my marriage too, because Diana is always there. She used to say, she's your baby. I said, yes, she's my baby. She needs me. She needs me to be there. My wife had 2 children. The princess had no one. Her children were away at boarding school. She had no husband. Occasionally, she had a male companion, but they came and they went. I was responsible for that too. I was a go-between. I was the one that went out with my car, brought people back to Kensington Palace in the back seat of my car underneath a blanket, just to give the princess some love. All she was ever looking for was to be loved. She used to say to me, all I ever want, Paul, is a man to put their arms around me and say, I love you. That's not too much to ask, is it? And that's what she was searching for. Her soulmate was Hasnat Khan, the heart surgeon.
Diana, when she came to Pakistan, this was a country that she had fond memories of, wasn't it?
Yes, I think she enjoyed her time here. She really liked the days she spent here, I think.
And meeting your family, that must have been a special moment for her and for them.
I think it definitely was for my family, and I think she enjoyed the afternoon tea with them. I think that's a long time ago now. 1996, I think.
I remember the day the princess met Hasnat Khan. She came back from the hospital, having visited children on the ward, and she said the most astonishing things happened to me today. As we sat down, she told me about this meeting. She said I was going up in the elevator and somebody put their foot into the elevator door as it was closing, and it opened again. And there he was. This gorgeous man was staring at me. Well, who wouldn't stare at Princess Diana? Surrounded by a gaggle of students, Hasnat was on his rounds around the hospital. And there he was, face to face with the princess for the first time. And she said, I knew I would have a relationship. Our chemistry was so strong that I knew. Of course, their relationship was nearly 2 years in the making. 2 years, no one knew about him. Again, I was the go-between. I would bring him into the palace. I'd ask chef to cook dinner for 2. I'd wait dinner for 2. I'd make sure they were comfortable before I went home. And in the morning, I'd take him back in the boot of my car to the hospital. So the police never saw him. The chefs never saw him. The maids never saw him. No one saw him, just me.
I don't know how she'll find a husband, but I always imagined she'd end up with someone older, very powerful and rich, perhaps a sort of Onassis type figure that really could look after her and whisk her away from everything in the same way that Onassis did for Jacqueline Kennedy.
I hope you can find it in your hearts to understand and to give me the time and space that has been lacking in recent years.
definitely not giving you credit.
Hasnat Khan had been the princess's companion for over 2 years. Nobody knew about Hasnat Khan. That was not played out on the world stage. Whereas, after they'd broken up, the princess was invited to the south of France by the Mohammed Al Fayeds. She met Dodi Al Fayed. Did you know that the romance of the princess and Dodi Al Fayed was 30 days from beginning to end? It only lasted 30 days. I spoke to her regularly when she was away. Have you seen Hasnat? I said, yes, I went for a drink with him last night. What does he think of me being here in the south of France with Dodi Al Fayed? Well, he's not too pleased. Has he seen the pictures in the papers? Yes, he has, because you know his routine. You know every morning he goes to the corner shop and sees the press. You know that. And I know that's what you're doing. You're manipulating the world's media by having these pictures taken to show Hasnat who you're with. It's a sort of a... Are you jealous? Do you mind? Do you care? Are you bothered? That's what Diana was saying to Hasnat Khan through those pictures in the world's media. And of course, Hasnat was bothered.
The marriage problems of Charles and Diana have cast a shadow over the royal family. Now the Queen has decided to bring the whole issue to a head by advising them to divorce. Part of the Queen's concern is the continuing effect on Prince Harry and Prince William of their parents' marital troubles, which were brought out so starkly and so publicly in the Princess's Panorama TV interview. It's understood Prince Charles, seen here recently with his sons at Eton, shares his mother's view that a divorce is now desirable.
There was a change of the rules which govern how divorces were conducted last autumn. And that change provided that you no longer needed to name the person with whom the other spouse had committed adultery.
This morning, Princess Diana was at her gym again. The photographers weren't happy.
Very funny, Mom! Woohoo!
The legal discussions are not likely to be straightforward. There do not appear to be any arguments over the custody of Prince William and Prince Harry, but Princess Diana does seem determined to secure a good financial settlement.
The Queen, here attending today's Gulf War Memorial Service at St Paul's Cathedral in London, had been awaiting Diana's decision since last December. Then she wrote to both Prince Charles and Diana, advising them that it was in their best interest to seek an early divorce. The Queen took the unusual step of intervening in what became a public manor.
The entrance to the Princess's London home tonight. She's said to be inside Kensington Palace, very sad and very pensive, according to friends.
The press pack is gathering at the gates of Kensington Palace this evening, but the Princess of Wales has turned camera shy ahead of tomorrow's Panorama screening.
The Prince now faces some difficult choices. Should he seek a divorce? Should he marry Mrs. Parker Bowles?
Lawyers say the divorce issue could still go to court.
I think she's playing a clever game. I think she is aware absolutely of what she is doing. She's convinced she ought to have an ambassadorial role, and that is what the public wants. And she's convinced that by doing this, she's going to make sure her husband realises that.
You've been very open about all of this and what you've said. Do you now hope that this issue and expect this issue to go away? Is that what you hope will now happen?
Yeah. Do you think Di was worth it? Is Di worth 17 million? You can still comment, can't you? I mean, would you pay your wife 17 million if you got divorced?
Oh, well, probably, if I had it, I would, yeah.
Very surprised at that. I thought it was a very peculiar way of doing it. On the face of it, it was rather discourteous to the Queen. But Princess Diana is very good at manipulating the media, and it may well be that she did it like this to show that she could do her own thing, and also to give her a stronger bargaining power over the title that she wanted to have, and perhaps over the nature of the divorce settlement when it comes.
Behind closed gates at Kensington Palace, the princess was said to be deeply upset at making and declaring the decision to end the marriage. It could happen swiftly, meaning a leap year divorce. So as the public read the papers, the royal lawyers set about reading the small print. What has yet to be worked out are the complicated details of a divorce.
She's got the house, Kensington Palace, which Prince Charles has always wanted to get back because he's stuck, poor fellow, in St James's Palace. And she has got the children, and obviously there's nothing going to change. She's got the money from Charles to keep up her lifestyle.
And so in those early days, she had so little self-confidence. She didn't believe in herself. And I think that love lost in those early days haunted her through her life. She was always searching to be loved. She was always wanting to embrace people. And I remember when I got married, she came and sat in my kitchen, hitched herself up onto the draining board on the sink, with her legs dangling, looked at me and said, "Do you know, this is all I've ever wanted, a happy family life." And that's the one thing that she could never have. So that love with Prince Charles that she gave everything for disappeared, and she turned around and there was no one there. The most beautiful woman in the world had no one to hold her. She had no one to kiss her goodnight. She had no one to say, "How beautiful you look."
Princess Diana captured the world's heart with her grace and compassion, but beneath the public admiration was a personal quest for true love. From her troubled marriage to Prince Charles to her deeply private romance with heart surgeon Hasnat Khan, Diana's emotional journey was marked by a longing for genuine connection.
She wanted to marry someone who had the same humanitarian outlook as her. Not in a Harry and Meghan kind of way, but in a very simple way. She wasn't going to talk in riddles, and she wasn't going to give a lot of speeches about what she was going to do. She was going to get out in the field and do it.
This story explores the layers of her life, revealing how Diana sought normalcy and affection in a world dominated by scrutiny. Her relationship with Khan, far removed from the public eye, offered her the sincerity she craved, while her highly publicised romance with Dodi Fayed masked deeper heartache.
Her soulmate was Hasnat Khan, the heart surgeon, not Dodi Al-Fayed.
Diana's tragic death shocked the world, but it also marked the end of her search for peace and love. Her legacy, particularly her relationship with Hasnat Khan, remains a poignant reminder of her desire to live beyond the glare of fame.
I personally think that Diana fell in love with Prince Charles. It's obvious to me that she was a young, naive girl and she fell in love with the prince. Now, if you watch that piece of footage when Prince Charles is asked, "Are you in love, sir?" Princess Diana's beaming.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
Well, it
you
obviously
can put your own
means,
interpretation.
Obviously means two very happy people.
Yes.
Once again, congratulations.
Well, from us, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very kind.
And she looks at him as if to say, "What are you talking about? Don't you know what love is?" That was the problem from the beginning. Charles didn't really know what love was.
When Lady Diana Spencer married Prince Charles in 1981, the world was captivated. The young and shy Diana seemed to embody the perfect fairy tale princess, stepping into a global spotlight with grace. The wedding was a grand spectacle, watched by millions, and many believed it marked the beginning of a royal love story. But beneath the surface, cracks in their relationship were already forming.
I think after Harry was born, the relationship seriously broke down. It just hadn't worked out like both of them expected. And even before the wedding, Diana had serious doubts, and so did Charles. Charles's friends, his close friends, warned him, "This is not going to work, Charles. She's too young, she's too naive, and you're an imaginary prince. She doesn't know you at all."
The pressures of royal life quickly began to wear on Diana. Thrust into a role she was unprepared for, she found herself isolated despite her immense popularity. Diana's emotional struggles intensified when she discovered Charles's long-standing relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. Camilla had been a significant figure in Charles's life before Diana, and it became clear that his feelings for her had never waned. As Charles grew more distant, Diana became trapped in a lonely and emotionally desolate marriage. The fairy tale image of their union crumbled, even as Diana worked hard to present a composed and glamorous face to the world. Privately, however, she struggled with feelings of inadequacy and rejection, battles that manifested in her well-documented struggle with bulimia.
You inflict it upon yourself because your self-esteem is at a low ebb and you don't think you're worthy or valuable. You fill your stomach up 4 or 5 times a day, some do it more, and it gives you a feeling of comfort. It's like having a pair of arms around you, but it's temporarily. temporary. Then you are disgusted at the bloatedness of your stomach, and then you bring it all up again.
The only secret Diana ever kept from me was the Martin Bashir interview for Panorama. I was sent home on a Sunday afternoon. Strange, I thought. Why would she be sending me home? Go and spend some time with your family. I'm doing nothing this afternoon. Don't worry about me. The next morning I came to work, I noticed all the furniture had been moved. Why have you moved the furniture? It's not in the same place. I had a dance class. I had to move the furniture out of the way just so that we could exercise. Strange, very strange. She avoided me for the next 2 days, never spoke to me. And then she told me that she'd made a recording with Martin Bashir for Panorama. What have you said? Well, I just put the record straight, she said.
I think every strong woman in history has had to walk down a similar path, and I think it's the strength that causes the confusion and the fear. Why is she strong? Where does she get it from? Where is she taking it? Where is she going to use it?
Something like 31 million people stopped in their tracks on that Monday night and couldn't believe what they were seeing. The Princess of Wales bearing her heart on national television. We couldn't take our eyes away from it. We couldn't believe what we were hearing.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Diana's candidness sent shockwaves through the royal family and the public, marking a turning point in the breakdown of her marriage. This moment revealed the extent of her heartache and loneliness, and for many, it signalled the inevitable end of their union. During this turbulent period, Diana sought companionship elsewhere, engaging in relationships with men like James Hewitt and James Gilby. However, the intense media scrutiny that followed her every move complicated these romances. Diana could not escape the relentless spotlight, making it nearly impossible for her to form meaningful connections.
In the summer of '92, a recording of Diana speaking to one of her friends, who actually was her lover, James Gilby, appeared in one of the newspapers. The transcript of this recording was unbelievable.
Fergie said to me today, she said, I sat next to Nigel Havers the other day and all we could talk about was you. And I said, Fergie, how awful for you? She said, oh, don't worry, the admiration club. A lot of people talk to her about me, which she can't help.
No.
Her at all.
I tell you, I think she's desperate to tag on to your coattails.
Well, she can't.
No, she absolutely can't seem to make that quite clear.
If you want to be like me, you've got to suffer.
It was an extraordinary, explosive moment. And really, there was very little that the Queen could do after that. The Queen realised that this couldn't go on because it was taking up all the news and there were important things happening. The monarchy has no power, they only have influence, and at this moment it was their shenanigans that were making the news, which is completely wrong. And she was very concerned about the institution of the monarchy with all this scandal going on. She thought there's only one thing to do, and the Queen is head of the church, and the last thing she wants is a divorce. And so she must have thought about it very, very carefully and decided that that was the only way forward.
Diana's yearning for love and acceptance was palpable. Despite her global fame and adoration, she longed for an authentic connection, something that was hard to find within the constraints of royal life. The breakdown of her marriage had left her searching for something real, away from the public eye and the pressures of her title. This search for genuine love sets the stage for Diana's eventual meeting with Hasnat Khan. After enduring a deeply troubled marriage and numerous failed relationships under the harsh gaze of the media, Diana began to seek something different, a relationship that offered her peace, privacy, and a sense of normalcy. The unravelling of her marriage to Charles had not only marked the end of a royal fairy tale, but also pushed Diana toward the possibility of finding a true and lasting connection outside the royal circle. In 1995, Princess Diana's life was a chaotic swirl of public appearances, media scrutiny and personal turmoil. But amidst the noise, she found an unexpected quiet love in a man far removed from the world of royalty, Pakistani heart surgeon Hasnat Khan. Their relationship, shrouded in secrecy, represented Diana's longing for a genuine connection, something rooted in trust, privacy, and normalcy.
Towards the end of her life, of course, she found her soulmate. Her soulmate was Hasnat Khan. Hasnat Khan had been the princess's companion for over 2 years. Nobody knew about Hasnat Khan. That was not played out on the world stage. I was the one that went out with my car, brought people back to Kensington Palace in the back seat of my car underneath a blanket, just to give the princess some love. All she was ever looking for was to be loved. She used to say to me, all I ever want, Paul, is a man to put their arms around me and say, I love you. That's not too much to ask, is it? And that's what she was searching for.
Diana first crossed paths with Hasnat at the Royal Brompton Hospital, where she was visiting a friend recovering from surgery. Dr. Hasnat Khan, however, was absorbed in his work and took no special notice of the world's most famous woman. For a princess who was accustomed to being the centre of attention, this nonchalant indifference was disarming and, as Diana reportedly found, irresistibly attractive. According to witnesses, Khan offered her nothing more than a polite nod as he went about his business. Diana, used to being fawned over, was intrigued by his grounded, unpretentious demeanour. Hasnat Khan was not a man of spectacle or glamour. Born in Jhelum, Pakistan, and raised in a middle-class Muslim family belonging to the Pathan tribe, he grew up with deeply rooted cultural values. His academic and professional achievements were stellar, earning his PhD at Imperial College, as well as degrees in medicine and surgery, and ultimately becoming a Fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons. But despite these accolades, he remained humble, focusing on saving lives rather than basking in fame. This grounded nature contrasted sharply with Diana's highly public existence, and it was this difference that drew her to him. Diana's early attempts to attract Hasnat's attention became something of a quiet game. She found reasons to visit the hospital more often, striking up conversations with patients and medical staff, all while hoping to catch a glimpse of the elusive heart surgeon.
Hasnat Khan was a heart doctor, and Diana loved doctors, and she was fascinated by the human body and how it worked, and she loved healing and saving lives. So she was at the Brompton Hospital, which she used to visit at very odd hours, sometimes in the middle of the night, and she'd been doing a little round of visits there, just involuntary, not announced or anything. And she got into the lift with Hasnat Khan, and she just looked at him and thought, "You're wonderful." And then she pursued him, and eventually she got him.
What set Hasnat apart from Diana's previous relationships was the quiet, genuine love that formed between them. It wasn't tainted by the weight of her royal obligations or the constant presence of the media. For Diana, Hasnat represented something she had always craved: an intimate connection based on mutual trust, sincerity, and the ordinary rhythms of life. Their love unfolded away from the spotlight with secret meetings and carefully guarded rendezvous. Diana even disguised herself during outings with Hasnat, once donning a black wig and glasses for an evening at Ronnie Scott's jazz club. However, this relationship wasn't without its obstacles. Hasnat's conservative Muslim background presented cultural and familial challenges. His family, deeply rooted in tradition, disapproved of the relationship, and Diana faced the complexities of bridging their two worlds. Yet, she remained committed to making it work. She made efforts to understand his culture, learning about his life in Pakistan, and even considering conversion to Islam. Diana visited Pakistan on multiple occasions, becoming close to Hasnat's friends and family, including cricket legend Imran Khan and his wife Jemima. Their love, though intense, had to navigate the tension between Diana's yearning for a normal life and her royal responsibilities. The media's relentless pursuit of Diana eventually extended to Hasnat, with reporters slowly uncovering details of their romance. But Diana was determined to shield their relationship from the public eye. She used fake names like Dr. Armani when calling him at the hospital, and found joy in the simple moments they shared, like Hasnat bringing her takeovers to Kensington Palace, or Diana sneaking into his call room at the hospital for stolen nights together. Diana was deeply serious about Hasnat, and she made efforts to support his career, hoping they could one day build a peaceful life away from the royal glare. According to reports, she even dreamed of moving abroad with him, far from the pressures of the British tabloids. On July 4th, 1996, the day she was finally granted a divorce from Prince Charles, Diana wore a traditional ivory shalwar kameez, symbolic of her love for Hasnat and her new chapter in life. With him, Diana had found a love that was simple and pure, a love that made her feel truly fulfilled for the first time in years. This relationship, unlike any Diana had before, was rooted in emotional depth and trust. Hasnat Khan, the man who cared nothing for titles or fame, was the secret love of her life, the one who gave her the genuine connection she had long desired, away from the relentless public spotlight. As Princess Diana and Dr. Hasnat Khan's relationship deepened, so did the obstacles that would eventually drive them apart. Their intense connection, built on shared values of privacy and sincerity, became strained by media pressure, cultural differences, and the contrasting realities of their lives. Diana, as one of the most famous women in the world, could not escape constant media attention. The paparazzi relentlessly followed her, and Hasnat, a private man dedicated to his quiet life as a heart surgeon, had no desire to be part of the chaos.
He was very, very worried that the press would get hold of it, and he couldn't deal with that. He just couldn't. But the press didn't really believe it. They thought he was overweight, he didn't look that attractive. You know, there was lots of pictures of him walking down the street eating Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was because, you know, he was very, very busy. And I'd written something in the Daily Mail about her smuggling people into Kensington Palace under a blanket in the back of her Paul Burrell's car. And she thought I knew about her relationship with Hasnat Khan, and she was terrified. That hadn't got out at the time. And she knew if it got out that it would destroy the relationship.
Their relationship became public when the Sunday Mirror revealed their romance, thrusting Hasnat into the spotlight. Diana, under pressure, responded by granting an interview to the Daily Mail, where she denied their relationship. This public denial hurt Hasnat deeply. It wasn't just the lie that wounded him, but the realization that the media attention he dreaded was now unavoidable. The constant scrutiny only deepened his fears about their future together. Compounding the tension was the disapproval from Hasnat's family. Despite their love for each other, Hasnat faced immense pressure from his relatives, particularly over cultural differences. His family, steeped in traditional values, could not envision him marrying the British royal icon. His father, Dr. Rashid Khan, publicly stated that Diana was not suitable for marriage, explaining that their son needed a Pakistani Muslim woman from a respectable upper-middle-class family. It became clear that Diana would never be accepted into their family. Despite these challenges, Diana remained determined. In May 1997, she flew to Pakistan without informing Hasnat and met his family in Lahore. Although they were polite, it was evident that her charm and status weren't enough to sway them. Hasnat's mother was firm in her belief that their relationship would not lead to marriage. Diana, driven by her love for Hasnat, began to realise that these cultural barriers were too great. Her efforts to understand his world, including seeking advice from Jemima Khan on navigating Pakistani culture, were ultimately unsuccessful. Hasnat's doubts and his family's resistance became insurmountable obstacles. For Diana, who had endured years of emotional turmoil, stability and commitment were essential. She longed for a love that could provide her with the security she craved. Hasnat, whom she loved deeply, couldn't give her that stability. His desire to avoid the public eye left her feeling abandoned at times. Despite their emotional connection, the gap between their worlds was too wide to bridge. The final break came in the summer of 1997. For Hasnat, the pressures surrounding their relationship had become overwhelming. He realised that a marriage to Diana would drastically change his life in ways he wasn't prepared for. As he later explained, "My main concern about us getting married was that my life would be difficult because of who she was." He also worried that if they had children, they would never have the chance to live a normal life, something he found hard to accept. By mid-1997, their relationship was crumbling. Diana's decision to join Mohammed Al Fayed on his yacht, where she met his son Dodi, further strained their already fragile bond. On July 10th, Hasnat had spent the night with Diana at Kensington Palace, but by the end of the month, she was photographed with Dodi on the Jonakal, fueling rumours of a new romance. Ultimately, Diana and Hasnat's relationship was a casualty of external pressures and incompatible lifestyles. Though their love was real, the overwhelming forces of media intrusion, cultural differences, and conflicting desires were too powerful to overcome. Their story ended in heartbreak, just weeks before Diana's tragic death. In the summer of 1997, the world watched as Princess Diana embarked on what appeared to be a whirlwind romance with Dodi Fayed, the wealthy Egyptian film producer and son of billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed.
Diana and Dodi met long before 1997. They met at various events, film premieres, at the polo, at the horse show, the sort of places that people of their kind would meet at. When they actually fell in love in the summer of 1997, they were already friends. And then, of course, they were together in the south of France, and a relationship which was already established became a deeper and closer relationship. And when they came back to London, they'd already made arrangements to get in touch with each other. They met and they started seeing each other, and it all went on from there.
The media coverage was relentless, with photos of Diana and Dodi on his family's yacht filling headlines. But for those close to Diana, this relationship was far more complex than it seemed on the surface. Dodi Fayed had been introduced into Diana's life through his father's invitation to join them on their yacht in the Mediterranean. At the time, Diana was emotionally vulnerable, having recently ended her intense secret relationship with heart surgeon Hasnat Khan. Some of her friends believed she was still emotionally tied to Hasnat even as she stepped into this new, very public relationship with Dodi.
Did you know that the romance of the princess and Dodi Al Fayed was 30 days from beginning to end? I spoke to her regularly when she was away. Have you seen Hasnat? I said, yes, I went for a drink with him last night. What does he think of me being here in the south of France with Dodi Al-Fayed? Well, he's not too pleased. Has he seen the pictures in the papers? Yes, he has, because you know his routine. You know every morning he goes to the corner shop and sees the press. You know that. And I know that's what you're doing. You're manipulating the world's media by having these pictures taken to show Hasnat who you're with. That's what Diana was saying to Hasnat Khan through those pictures in the world's media.
To the world, Diana and Dodi appeared to be madly in love, but insiders suggest something different. Diana's relationship with Dodi may have been less about true love and more about distraction. Friends of Diana, like Rosa Monckton, later said they believed Diana was using her time with Dodi to make Hasnat jealous. The luxury vacations, lavish yacht trips and constant media attention were almost too perfectly orchestrated. Diana knew that her every move was being watched, and perhaps by stepping into this glamorous romance with Dodi, she hoped to provoke a response from Hasnat.
I knew Dodi, and he was probably one of the most charming people you could ever meet. And he's also rather cool. Had an American accent, beautifully dressed, and he treated Diana like the princess she was. Nobody else had treated her like that. I mean, with Hasnat Khan, she had to sort of hide him at the back of her car, and they had to, they mostly ate in, or if they went out, she was in disguise. But with Dodi, she could show herself off. I think she liked him very much. I don't know if she was in love with him, but she was in love with the idea of him. I think Diana wanted to get married again, and she wanted to have another child. Again, I think getting married again probably was a bit of a fantasy. Certainly getting married to the doctor that she was in love with was a fantasy, because it would never have worked out. It couldn't have worked for him. But she did want to get married again, very much so. In a way, I think she wanted to find someone that could work with her. In a way that it was what she'd hoped for when she married Prince Charles.
On July 10th, 1997, the night before she went to Saint-Tropez, Hasnat stayed with her at Kensington Palace. When Diana went to Saint-Tropez with Mr. Al-Fayed, everything was fine between us, Hasnat told police, investigating her death. After a few days, I felt something was wrong. Her mobile kept going on to answer phone. When she returned home, Diana met Hasnat in Battersea Park. He recalled how she was not her usual self. He told her he thought she had met someone else, and it must be someone with a connection to Al-Fayed. She denied there was anyone else. They arranged to meet the following day at Kensington Palace. It was during this meeting that Diana told Hasnat it was over. He recalls saying to her, "You are dead," meaning her reputation was dead. He said this because he was sure Thatch was involved with Mohammed Al-Fayed's group, and that was how he felt about anyone involved with them. Princess Diana and her close friend Rosa Monckton took a private cruise together in mid-August 1997, shortly after returning from a second holiday with Dodi. From August 15th to August 20th, they sailed around the Greek islands for 5 days aboard Monckton's yacht. Since it was such a small boat and nobody knew the Princess of Wales was on board, Rosa claims that the media did not follow them while they were on their trip. During the trip, Diana told her friend that the relationship with Hasnat was over. Dodi was going to give her a ring, but she said it was going firmly on her right hand. Diana's friend said that the relationship had broken down because of Diana's frustration with Hasnat. He wouldn't agree to marry her or even take the relationship public. Dodi was designed to make him jealous. 20th August, Diana arrives in the French Riviera. It is here where the photographs that were shown across the world were taken. The clear message: Diana was in love, and this time for real.
When are you coming home? I'm coming home on Sunday, Paul. I'm just bored. I'm on this boat. It's freezing cold downstairs. It's boiling hot on deck. I'm sending these pictures out, and nobody's coming back to me. The only way I can get home is via Paris, because Dodie has to go to Paris to do some business for his father. How is he with you? Oh, he's very spoiling. He's given me a necklace, some earrings. He's given me a watch. I said, you know what's coming next, don't you? He's going to give you a ring.
On Saturday, August 30th, 1997, Diana and Dodie headed to Paris, neither of them knowing the tragic events that laid ahead.
The princess, who was sitting alongside, suffered terrible chest injuries.
We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been in a car accident.
Where they were involved in some kind of collision, we don't know with what or...
This is what's left of the Mercedes in which the Princess of Wales and her companion were being driven back to his house.
Just to confirm the news that Diana, Princess of Wales, has died in a car accident.
The tragic death of Princess Diana on August 31st, 1997, sent shockwaves around the world. As news of the fatal car crash in Paris spread, millions mourned the loss of the people's princess, a woman who had captured hearts with her compassion, grace, and vulnerability. But for Hasnat Khan, the man many believed was Diana's true love, her death was more than a public tragedy. It was a deeply personal and heartbreaking loss. Diana's relationship with Dodi Fayed had captured the media's attention during the summer of 1997. However, behind the glamorous headlines, Diana's heart was still tethered to Hasnat Khan. Her relationship with Dodi, as many of her close friends believed, was less about love and more about moving on from the intense emotional connection she had with Hasnat. Some even speculated that Diana was trying to make Hasnat jealous, frustrated that he had not committed to a public future with her. In a cruel twist of fate, the very force that drove Diana and Hasnat apart, the relentless attention of the paparazzi, would also contribute to her untimely death. On that fateful night in Paris, Diana and Dodi were pursued by photographers as their car sped through the city streets, ultimately leading to the crash that claimed their lives.
It's now the 31st of August, the late hours. I just returned from the theatre. And the phone rings. It's Lucia Fletcher de Lima, the Brazilian ambassador's wife in Washington. She said, Paul, CNN have just reported the princess is in an accident in Paris. Can you find out more? You've got her mobile number. I don't have it. Ring her. And it rang and rang and rang. And I thought that's strange because in those days, mobile phones were in their infancy, but she always carried it with her. I didn't know that it was just ringing out on a marble top inside the suite at the Ritz in Paris. I had no idea where this phone was. First, we'd heard the princess had had head injuries and broken her arm. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, we heard that the injuries were more serious than they first thought. And it wasn't until about 3 o'clock that they told us that the accident had been fatal. and I was on the first flight to Paris the next morning. So early Sunday morning, I arrived in Paris and was taken straight by the British ambassador, taken to the hospital. And I remember going into the elevator, and the elevator doors opening on the first floor, and looking down the corridor and seeing two gendarmes stood outside of a door. And I thought, that's where she is. So I was led, not to that room, but to the room next door, where I waited for a while with an Anglican priest and a Roman Catholic priest. Nurse Humbert was the French nurse on duty, small, petite nurse that could only speak broken English. And she came to me and said, Paul, would you like to go in to see the princess? I said, yes, I would. I stared for a while in disbelief, and I watched the fan whirring on the side of the bed table. And as it moved the princess's hair, and I could see her eyelashes moving. And I took her hand and said, wake up. You're asleep, aren't you? Wake up.
The media's obsession with Diana's love life, particularly her romance with Dodi, had turned deadly. And for Hasnat, this was a devastating reminder of the price Diana paid for her fame. Although they had broken up, there was an undeniable bond between them, one rooted in trust and a shared desire for a normal private life. Reports suggest that Hasnat had hoped to reconcile with Diana, and that he still cared deeply for her.
I didn't find out until recently that he called her the day before she died on her mobile phone. He called her to try and patch up their relationship. Had she returned to London, I truly believe the romance between Hasnat Khan and the princess would have been rekindled. It was too strong. It was too deep. They were true soulmates.
While many of Diana's friends grieved publicly, Hasnat chose to mourn in his own quiet way. Though he did attend the funeral, he arrived alone, keeping a low profile amidst the global outpouring of sorrow. His quiet presence at the service, away from the media's spotlight, reflected his deep respect for Diana and his desire to honour her in a manner true to the private nature of their relationship. It was a final silent tribute from the man who had once been the love of her life. Though he could have written a book or given countless interviews to profit from his relationship with Diana, he chose to stay silent for years. It wasn't until much later that he spoke in just a couple of interviews, a decision that speaks volumes about his character.
When she came to Pakistan, this was a country that she had fond memories of, wasn't it?
Yes, I think she enjoyed her time here. She really liked the days she spent here, I think.
And meeting your family, that must have been a special moment for her and for them.
I think it definitely was for my family, and I think she enjoyed the afternoon tea with them. I think that's a long time ago now, 1996, I think.
What do you hope this inquest will establish? I mean, what are the most important things you would like people to be aware of at the end of all of this?
I hope it settles all the questions which have been asked. And for me, I think it's important that this is the end of it, and people can move on. And because it just keeps coming back, every year, or sometimes twice a year. And I think that's what I would like to see. This inquest will establish an end to it.
Years after his relationship with Diana ended, Hasnat Khan sought a more private life, continuing his work as a dedicated heart surgeon. In 2006, he married Hadia Sher Ali, a woman from a prominent Afghan family, but their marriage lasted only 18 months before they divorced. Though Hasnat has always shied away from the media spotlight, he continues to make a meaningful impact in his field. Now living in Essex, He remains dedicated to his work as a heart surgeon in the UK. Beyond his professional practice, Hasnat has also been deeply involved in humanitarian efforts, providing life-saving medical care in countries like Saudi Arabia, his native Pakistan, and other regions in need. His commitment to helping others reflects the shared values that once connected him and Diana, their genuine care for people and desire to make a difference. In many ways, Hasnat's charitable work serves as a continuation of Diana's legacy, honouring the compassion and dedication they both held so dear. For Diana, who had spent much of her life in search of true affection, Hasnat represented something rare. A genuine connection, untainted by the pressures of royal life or public opinion. Though their relationship ultimately faltered under the weight of cultural differences and Hasnat's desire for privacy, it left an indelible mark on both their lives. In the end, the very thing Diana sought to escape, relentless media attention, was what claimed her life. The paparazzi, who had hounded her every move, became a tragic symbol of the price she paid for being so publicly adored. Yet, in her final years, Diana's search for love was also a search for peace. And while her relationship with Dodi Fayed dominated the headlines in the days leading up to her death, it was Hasnat Khan who many believe held her heart until the very end. Princess Diana's life, filled with contradictions and complexities, remains a poignant reminder of the human need for love and connection. Her legacy, marked by her compassion for others and her vulnerability, endures as a symbol of grace under pressure. For Hasnat Khan, the man who shared her private world, the story of their love remains a bittersweet chapter in the life of a woman who was loved by millions, but longed for just one person to truly see her.
It's quite incredible to believe that it's nearly 2 decades since Diana passed. I think what's so amazing is how William and Kate, to her credit, have been determined to continue her legacy, and Prince Harry as well. Let's not forget all the amazing charity work that he's done. Prince Harry said when he was 18 that he promised he would continue the legacy of his mother's work, and he's done that through the incredible work he does in Africa. Kate is doing it by wearing that ring every single day, by naming her daughter the third name after Diana. William as well, encompassing Diana in so many ways, and the fact that he chose the apartment at Kensington Palace. I think all of these things are very deliberate moves to keep Diana's memory alive. Yes, she was the people's princess, the Princess of Wales, but she was William and Harry's mother, and I don't think they ever want her to be forgotten.
She came to us at a romantic, new, fresh time into the royal family. She came to save it in a way.
Princess Diana was the daughter of an earl, Her father was Lord Spencer, and he was later Viscount Althorp. They had a house on the Sandringham estate, and then when Diana's grandfather died, they moved to the family stately home, Althorp.
She wasn't obviously royalty, she was termed quite unkindly a commoner, although she was constantly rubbing shoulders with royalty because her childhood was based in part up in Sandringham, so she was often on the estate with the royals. Her sister had gone out with Prince Charles, so she knew the family well, and she was essentially circulating in those sort of quite high society circles.
And the Spencer family were quite an ancient aristocratic family, and Diana was very proud of her heritage. I mean, they were actually probably grander than the royal family.
Well, Diana didn't have the happiest of childhoods. Her parents separated when she was younger, so she came from a broken home, and I think perhaps there was an insecurity that a seed was sown from a young age, and that insecurity was something that flourished actually within her as she got older.
Her father doted on her, and she was really fond of her father. I mean, she used to like to dance, and she was very fond of swimming. She was always up and down to the swimming pool. She danced in the main hall and played the piano. No, she never ever said what she wanted to do. The only time I ever heard her say anything was just in fun. At her sister's wedding, she said, "My wedding will be at Westminster Abbey." And she was 18 then, I should think. But we always thought she'd be Prince Andrew.
It's almost impossible to describe to a stranger or someone who's never met Princess Diana what she was really like. What I usually say is she was as beautiful inside as she was out. But to meet her was something special. She lit up a room, she stopped traffic, and when she entered into a room, everything stopped, and all eyes were on her. I've never met another human being who had that aura, who had that charisma, the same as Princess Diana. The princess changed enormously from the time I met her, aged 18, to the very end. I was there from the beginning to the very end. And I can tell you, in the beginning, she was a shy, naive, quiet girl who knew nothing about the world. She transformed. She had to. She had to survive. She was thrown in at the deep end and told to swim, and she learned quickly.
My years at Westheath were certainly very happy ones indeed. I made many friends who I often see, and in spite of what Miss Fudge and my other teachers may have thought at the time, I did actually learn something. So you would never have known by my O-level results.
I think it gives one a very useful experience of responsibility and discipline. I think responsibility is the most important thing. Is the actual trust that's put in you to deal with other people, and the feeling that they can perhaps put their trust in you as well.
When I joined Buckingham Palace way back in 1976, it was already rumoured that Prince of Wales would be marrying somebody like Princess Mary Astrid or Amanda Knatchbull. There were rumours that he would be marrying somebody else. Lady Diana Spencer was never there. There were always suitors around Prince Charles. He was the most eligible bachelor in the world at that time, heir to the throne of England. So he was never short of female companions. I saw him occasionally with the Queen. He'd stay at Buckingham Palace. His suite of rooms were at the palace. He had his own valet. He had his own household. And he was very independent. Really, he was searching for someone who could provide him with an heir and a spare. That was his main priority. He was getting old. And the Queen had said to him, "Isn't it about time you settled down, Charles? Isn't it about time you made us grandparents?" So his time was right when Lady Diana Spencer came into his vision.
Well, Charles and Diana met when Diana was still a teenager. She was very young at the time. In fact, her older sister had been cherry-picked as a potential suitor for Prince Charles and had in fact dated. Sarah and Charles did date, but it was Diana, who I think was only 17 or 18 at the time, who caught Prince Charles's eye, and he saw this incredibly beautiful, doe-eyed, stunning blonde who caught his eye, and actually he decided that she was the one he wanted to see, not the older sister.
Diana was invited to spend a weekend as a companion, really. So not really a date, but just someone to be around Charles who was amusing, at the home of someone called Philippa de Pass. And he'd just broken up with his girlfriend Anna Wallace, and he'd just been to Lord Mountbatten's funeral. And he, Lord Mountbatten was probably the closest person to him. And Diana said to him, "You look so sad. You look so sad and so alone." And he sort of jumped on her, as it were. That's it, in her. She said she couldn't believe it. I mean, she was so naive and so innocent. And then she was invited on board Britannia for Cowes Week. And then she was invited to Balmoral. So it was, it was a steady but quite fast introduction.
In the summer of 1980, the Queen told me that a young girl was coming to stay for the weekend. "Will you meet her at the front door and show her a room?" "Of course, Your Majesty." So I'm standing in the front hallway of Balmoral Castle on the black and white tiles, waiting for this car to arrive. And out of the car comes a shy young girl that nobody knew who she was. She had one little suitcase in the back. "Is that all you've brought with you? You're here for the weekend. You have to go to hunting, shooting, you have to go to the Gillies Ball, tea parties, lunch parties, and that's all you have." She says, "Will it do?" I said, "I think we'd better take you to her room and find out." I showed her to her room. "Will you stay for a while and have a chat with me? I'm completely out of my depth," she said. So I stayed. "What time do you go down for tea?" 4 o'clock. You go down to the small drawing room. The Queen will pour you a cup of tea. "I don't like tea." "I'll make sure she has coffee there waiting for you." "Then what happens?" I said, "When tea's cleared, you go into the drawing room, and then the Queen will pour you a gin and tonic." "I don't drink." "I'll make sure there's a glass of water there for you." "Then what happens?" "Then the Queen plays cards on her card table." "Do you play bridge?" "Yes." "Then make sure you're sat at the card table to play bridge with the Queen. That's a good way to get to know Her Majesty. Then the Queen will take the dogs into the garden. Maybe you could suggest you went for a walk with her. Also a good time to get Her Majesty's ear. That's what you want to do." This young girl was fascinated by this routine of royal households. And as I closed the door that day, I noticed the name on the door, Lady Diana Spencer.
Very generous. A very good friend.
Did you watch TV a lot? Did you have any favourite programmes?
Crossroads.
Did you share that like?
Unfortunately, yes. I wanted to teach children, and they said, "Why not come along?" So I first started off doing afternoons, and then I took over the mornings and did whole days. But I only worked 3 days a week at kindergarten, and the other 2 I looked after American baby boy, which nobody seems to realise. It was very special to me.
And she's, got pictures of him and always asks about him when she writes.
Oh, she still writes to you?
Yes, which I think is just marvelous of her. I realize how she finds the time to do it is beyond me.
She was working at the time of the press interest in her and Prince Charles. She'd moved on from working as a nanny, and she was working as a school teacher at a school in Pimlico. And she was looking after, very young children, really, not really teaching them, but just looking after them.
So is there any possibility of any announcement of your marriage in the near future? Can you tell me? Can you tell me if there's any possibility?
I'm not going to say anything, afraid.
Prince Charles did give us a hint himself. He said we wouldn't have to wait too long.
Just as Charles fell immediately in love with Princess Diana, or Lady Diana Spencer as she was at the time, so too did Britain. We hadn't seen the likes of a future princess like this for many, many years, and Diana was just a stunner. I mean, that picture that Arthur Edwards took of her coming out of her nursery in that see-through dress, that set of pins that she sported, the innocence about her, you just thought, wow, this girl is a knockout.
The press started camping out on the doorstep, 40 or 50 of them. And this had never happened to a member of the royal family before. And they followed her everywhere, so it was relentless, and she handled it beautifully, but mentally it was really getting to her.
What happened with the princess was she came to us at a romantic, new, fresh time into the royal family. She came to save it in a way because it was on the decline. Her involvement in the royal family boosted the royal family's popularity, lifted the royal family.
No, Diana wasn't prepared for overnight stardom. Nobody is. She was a country girl. She was very naive. She'd never even had a proper boyfriend. So she wasn't remotely prepared for that kind of stardom, and it was frightening. It was really frightening. I mean, she was absolutely sweet, and she chatted to photographers, and just carried on her everyday business as best she could, but she wasn't remotely prepared for it. There's nobody helped her, nobody told her, because this was the first time it had happened.
How well are you coping with all the press attention? Well, as you can see, you can tell. Are you bearing up with it quite well, though? Because it must be quite a strain with all of us after you.
Well, it is, naturally.
And you're coping with it all right, though? You seem to be doing very well.
Well, I'm still around.
Well, when Prince Charles asked Diana to marry him, he said to her, "You do realise that one day you'll be queen?" And Diana says, "I knew I wouldn't be queen, but I don't see how she could possibly have known that." In retrospect, she says, "I knew I wouldn't be queen," but I don't think it really sank in. She was very naive, and I think she thought, oh, one day I'll be queen, fine. But I think it was really more the pressure of being on such public display that got to her, and I think that's the pressure that gets to every girl that marries into the royal family. But no one had ever experienced this before. Diana was the first one. And I remember the Queen sort of saying, it's just because she's young and new and it'll all calm down. Because it never calmed down, it just got worse. So she was under a lot of pressure.
Do you find it a very daunting experience that yesterday you were a nanny looking after children, now you're about to marry the Prince of Wales, and one day you would, in all likelihood, be Queen? It's a tremendous change for someone, if I may say, of 19 to make all of a sudden, the transition.
It is, but I've had a small run up to it all in the last 6 months. And next to Prince Charles, I know I can't go wrong. He's there with me.
As Lady Diana's father described her this morning as, he said he thought she'd make a very good housewife.
Well, that's not he said that.
We've yet to see. Because now, having agonised, if you like, puzzled over it and decided, you're now going to be separated again because you're going to Australia, New Zealand. Yes. And you'll be away, what, 5-6 weeks, something like that? Yes. What are you going to do in the meantime?
Oh, don't worry, Ash, we're very busy.
Not back to the nursery and not back, not back to flat sharing, presumably.
Nope.
At what point did you decide that this was the right lady for you? I mean,
well, gradually. I suppose towards the end of the summer and the autumn last year, and I began to realise, what was going on in my mind and hers in particular, and all these things help. But, it was a gradual business.
Did you find it a very hard decision, Lady Diana?
I had a long time to think about it, because I knew the pressure was on both of us. And, well, it wasn't a difficult decision in the end. It's what I wanted. It's what I want. And
I haven't seen the ring. Maybe have a look at your...
Yes. Wonderful sapphire and diamond.
When were you given that? Just last night? Or?
No, Sunday.
But not wearing it yesterday?
No, pretty hidden.
And when did you tell the Queen that this was what you wanted to do?
Well, about 3 weeks ago. So, as I say, we've had to sit on it and hide it for 3 weeks, which hasn't been all that easy. But I was absolutely determined that it was going to be as near a secret as possible on the actual day. That was my ambition.
But you're both obviously excited, but it must have been awfully difficult trying to keep that secret, actually.
Yes.
Very good for us.
And very good for
good practice.
And good for the people we told, too. Quite interesting to see who can keep secrets.
But it did. But what about the proposal, Your Royal Highness? How did that come about?
Well, I asked Diana before she went to Australia, 2 or 3 days before, because I thought it'd be a good idea that, apart from anything else, if she went to Australia, she could then think about it, and if she didn't like the idea, she could say she didn't, or if she did, she could say that. But in fact, you actually said
yes, quite
yes,
promptly.
Before you went to Australia?
Yes.
And then we had to sit on it for 3 weeks.
Must have been an agonising 3 weeks. Did you speak at all? I mean, the phone lines must have been pretty busy between here and Australia.
Yes, we tried, but it was quite difficult because I think there was a certain amount of press interest there, although they never actually found you, did they?
Yeah.
But I rang up on one occasion and I said, can I speak? And they said, no, we're not taking any calls. So I said, well, is the Prince of Wales speaking? How do I know it's the Prince of Wales? Came back to reply. I said, well, you don't, but I am, in a little rage.
Now, if you watch that piece of footage when Prince Charles is asked, are you in love, sir?
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
And she looks at him as if to say, what are you talking about? Don't you know what love is? That was the problem from the beginning. Charles didn't really know what love was. He never really wanted a lover. He wanted a mother.
Well, the cracks in their relationship, I think they began to show very quickly. Because Diana didn't understand. I mean, after she became engaged to Prince Charles, he never seemed to be around. He was always so busy. And she was moved into Buckingham Palace, and she had her own apartment there, and he was sort of down the corridor. And she was absolutely on her own. I mean, a friend of mine actually was her footman and told me a lot about her at the time. And she was very lonely. She didn't feel she could have her girlfriends there. And I mean, Buckingham Palace is quite a strange place for a teenage girl to be incarcerated, which is really what she was.
Well, I think everyone remembers Charles and Diana's wedding as this fairy tale. I think even the Archbishop of Canterbury at the time referred to it as such. Obviously quite 80s heavy when you think about Diana's huge meringue-esque gown and all of the people in attendance, and obviously the romantic venue that was St Paul's Cathedral at the time. And this was an event watched by a global audience of multi-millions, so it was a major, major royal occasion.
Everyone watched the engagement footage. Everyone around the world, pretty much, tuned into the royal wedding. I mean, that was a huge event in '81. The fairy tale dress, the golden carriage, the beautiful ceremony at St Paul's, the blushing bride, the proud prince. It just ticked all the boxes. It was the fairy tale wedding, or so we all thought.
Very well, thank you. I'd just like to say a word. May I say a word?
Please do.
Yes. The Spencers have, through the centuries, fought for their king and country. Today, Diana is vowing to help her country for the rest of her life. She will be following in the tradition of her ancestors, and she will have at her side the man she loves.
I think Diana had terrible jitters on her wedding day. In fact, the night before, she wanted to get out of the whole thing. And she'd had a sort of funny, jokey evening with her sisters. And they said, Dutch, you can't get out of it now, because they used to call her Dutch, short for Duchess. You can't get out of it now, your face is on the tea towels. And that made her laugh. But she discovered about Camilla. She discovered that Charles was giving her gifts. And she didn't know the half of it, but she knew that Camilla was a very important person in her fiancé's life. And she said she became obsessed, absolutely obsessed, so that when she was walking down the aisle, she spotted Camilla in the congregation. But she said what sort of helped her at that moment was concentrating on her father, because he just had a stroke, and she was really, and he's a very big man, and she was really guiding her father.
Charles, Philip, Arthur, George, wilt thou have this woman to thy wedded wife, to live together after God's ordinance in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou love her, comfort her, honor and keep her in sickness and in health, and forsaking all other, keep thee only unto her, so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
Diana Francis, wilt thou have this man to thy wedded husband, to live together according to God's law in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou love him, comfort him, honor and keep him in sickness and in health, and forsaking all other, keep thee only unto him, so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
Bless, O Lord, this ring, and grant that he who gives it and she who shall wear it may remain faithful to each other and abide in thy peace and favor and live together in love until their lives end. Through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen.
With this ring,
with this ring,
I thee wed.
I thee wed.
With my body,
I
thee honor.
I thee honor.
And all my worldly goods with thee I share.
All thy goods with thee I share.
In the name of the Father,
in the name of the Father,
and of the Son,
and of the Son,
and of the Holy Ghost,
and of the Holy Ghost.
Amen.
Amen.
For as much as Charles Philip Arthur George and Diana Frances have consented together in holy wedlock, and have witnessed the same before God and this company, and thereto have given and pledged their troth either to other, and have declared the same by giving and receiving of a ring and by joining of hands, I pronounce that they be man and wife together, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. Here is the stuff of which fairy tales are made. The prince and princess on their wedding day.
The princess was brimming with hope and love for the future. She fell in love with her prince. And there they were, a golden couple. I remember the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer very well because I was at Buckingham Palace. I was working for the Queen, and the Queen said to me, "You can watch it on my telly. So take the corgis for a walk in the garden and then watch the telly and you'll know when we're coming back." I was responsible for the top table, which was the bride's table, the bride and groom, and of course the Queen and Prince Philip, and the bridesmaids. So I was waiting for the bride to come back. She'd appeared on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. And then, at the end of a very long red carpeted corridor, I noticed this ball of white racing towards me. And I realized it was Princess Diana. She'd rolled her train up into a ball, tucked it under her arm. She had her slippers in one hand, and she was racing down this corridor, lined with windows. And the diamonds of the Spencer family tiara were glinting in the sunshine. And she was racing towards me. Just me and her in one corridor. She was like a galleon in full sail. What a picture of hope and happiness and love. She had it all. And that day, I waited the wedding breakfast in the ball supper room, served the Queen and the bride refused everything. She didn't eat a morsel. And she said to me later, "I couldn't eat a thing, Paul. My stomach was in knots." I was just totally wound up by the day, by the excitement, by the spectacle. She says, "But you know, the most wonderful thing was walking down the aisle of St. Paul's Cathedral with my father." She says, "But did you ever look at the footage of that?" I said, "I've seen it many times." She says, "Next time you look at it, watch me." She says, "Can't you see me looking from side to side? Can you see me doing that? Do you know what I'm doing?" looking for her. I'm looking for Camilla. And she was there.
Princess Diana, like the rest of the world, was caught up in the fairy tale that was her own royal relationship, and she was willing it to work, as was everyone else. Actually, the reality behind Palace Gates is that pretty quickly it had started falling apart.
I haven't yet worked out a method of splitting my wife in half. She can do both sides.
In the early days, Diana's light was small, but it began to shine brighter and brighter and brighter. And it was a sort of a Star is Born situation. Prince Charles would say to her, "Well, I married you, I made you a princess. You weren't born royal. This is a man who's been born to be king. This is a man who has been treated from the very beginning as a god. Suddenly being eclipsed by this woman, he wasn't very happy. He'd also courted her older sister, of course. Sarah had been a suitor, and on Diana's wedding day, her sister, Sarah, turned to her and said, "I thought all this was going to be mine one day, and now it's yours." There was sibling rivalry in the Spencer household. Diana wasn't meant to achieve. The fact that Diana became Princess of Wales, probably future Queen of England, was beyond the Spencer family to comprehend. It wasn't for her to achieve. The brother should have achieved. It was his estate, not Diana's. So there was always some jealousy coming from the Spencers.
Madam, how are you enjoying married life?
Highly recommend it.
How do you like Balmoral as a place?
Lovely.
Yeah.
Have you cooked a breakfast yet?
I don't eat breakfast.
Well, Diana made it very clear that she felt like a fish out of water. Even before her actual wedding, she said she spent those nights before her wedding at Clarence House, which was then the Queen Mother's residence. And the night before her wedding was one of the most miserable of her life. She recalls how she felt completely isolated, you know, the images of the princess trapped in the tower.
Well, I think now when we reflect on it and after we've seen interviews that Diana gave subsequently, we know that she was extremely ill-prepared for married life into the royal family, and she felt enormous pressure from day one. Even when they were discussing the engagement and the wedding plans, I think the pressure started to build on her. The media scrutiny of Lady Di, as she was then, I think, played foremost on her mind. She didn't know how she needed to behave. And when she actually entered married life, she found it a very lonely experience. Charles was off enjoying his country pursuits, and she felt that she was left rather in a world she didn't recognise, a modern woman in quite an old-school environment of Buckingham Palace, essentially feeling like a spare part.
I think she felt isolated, and I don't think that the palace were prepared for someone who perhaps didn't have that royal training to marry into the royal family and to become a future queen. She was the Princess of Wales. She became famous overnight, and she didn't really have the tools to equip her for such immediate stardom. If you look at how the palace helped integrate Kate Middleton, as she was then, into the royal family over that decade-long courtship, Kate was trained to deal with the paparazzi. She was trained not to speak to the press. You know, she had a lot of hand-holding, and she had an incredible mentor in William. I don't think Charles gave Diana the guidance that she needed, and I certainly don't think the courtiers at the palace did. She was really left to sink or swim.
Living and working with the Queen was far more easy than living with Diana. With the Queen, we always knew that her life ran with routines and protocols and timetables. We knew that breakfast would be 9 o'clock, lunch would be 1 o'clock, tea would be 5 o'clock, and dinner would be 8:15. It was the same every day. It's Groundhog Day at Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace is a very large house, has over 200 members of staff, and a hierarchy below stairs that you wouldn't believe, with titles that go way back into the 1600s. So you have fender smiths, you have women of the bedchamber, you have pages of the presence, and you have pages of the back stairs. You have footmen, you have yeomen of the glass pantry and yeomen of the silver pantry. So all these titles, and people know what they're doing. They all have a specific job. I knew what I was doing at Buckingham Palace. From first thing in the morning till last thing at night, it runs like clockwork. It's never been changed. If Queen Victoria went back to Buckingham Palace tomorrow, she wouldn't be surprised by anything. It's exactly the same. Nothing changes at Buckingham Palace. Everything runs smoothly. With Diana, anything could happen. No routine, no timetables, nothing. We might skip lunch, we might be shopping, we could be doing anything during the day. So life was more exciting with Diana. But the difference between the two worlds was I always knew where I was with the Queen. I always knew where the line was in the sand. I knew when not to cross that line, and I knew to stay and bow. I was a servant, but also a friend and confidant to the Queen, but in a different way. With Diana, it was have a cup of tea with me, have a cup of coffee. Don't just stand there. I used to stand every morning waiting for the princess to come through from her dressing room. And every morning, standing there with a half a grapefruit and a cup of black coffee, I'd bow and say, "Good morning, Your Royal Highness." "For goodness sake," she'd say, "when are you going to stop doing that? It's just me and you in the room. Sit down and have a cup of coffee with me and tell me what's been going on." That was her.
Sorry, I didn't see you there.
I wish you that.
You're hugging the lamb.
I'm hugging it. I'm hugging it all the time.
Lovely to
You look
so are you on your way shopping?
No.
Lucky me. I see the sun out.
The former princess on the world stage did everything as she should to perfection, but behind closed doors, she was naughty. She was a naughty little girl. She loved to have fun. She loved to giggle. She loved to play practical jokes.
At that time, everybody was saying, "Good luck," and "I hope everything goes well," and "How lucky you are to be engaged to such a lovely lady." And my goodness, I was lucky enough to marry her. And we had many messages. It's amazing what ladies do when your back's turned.
I personally think that Diana fell in love with Prince Charles. It's obvious to me that she was a young, naive girl, and she fell in love with the prince. Years later, she said to me, "Well, yes, I kissed a frog. I found a toad." That was my story. But she did fall in love with him, and those two boys are born out of love.
I saw correspondence between them. I saw correspondence from the princess to the Queen, which said how happy she was and how she loved to be a wife and how much she would support Charles in his future career. They were her views, but times changed. Within 1 year, she had William, and then Harry came along. And so the first 5 years of the princess's marriage, she felt that she could make it work.
I think there is this image that Princess Diana created that she felt that she was completely isolated from the rest of royal life, possibly by her age. She was a young 20-something, surrounded by who she described as men in grey suits, you know, the powers that be at the palace. There's an image she created of herself sort of walking around the palace corridors with a Walkman on, sort of rather detached from the rest of the scene. So I think she felt she was thrown into the deep end, wasn't given much coaching. It's not like, say, for instance, William and Kate, where they lived together for a decade before she becomes a royal wife, she barely really knew Charles, if you reflect on it. They'd only met, you know, a dozen or so times. So actually, it was straight in at the heavy wedge of it from the very beginning.
Prince Charles wasn't always kind to the princess. In fact, sometimes he was quite cruel. I remember one occasion she came downstairs wearing a beautiful black and white Catherine Walker gown. And she said, "Charles, I've had it made specially. Do you like it? You look like you belong to the mafia," he said, which cut her down to her knees. And then on one occasion, she came down in a tartan dress and said, "Do you like this one? Well, you look like a British Caledonian stewardess." It was always undermining, just before an engagement began, so that she would lose her confidence. So it was mental cruelty in a way. I never saw any physical violence. I saw tables being upset, I saw crockery being thrown across the room, but I never saw any physical violence. The rest of the royal family and the royal household, they treated Diana as if she was just another gal. In fact, they didn't give her much consideration at all. I did notice that one day, going through the drawing room, the old Queen Mother, she passed the magazine table and Diana's face was on the front of Hello Magazine. And as she walked past the table, she flipped the magazine over onto its backside and carried on walking. That to me said, she's not really accepted. They don't like it. She's beginning to outshine even the senior members of the royal family, which is a dangerous territory. I watched Diana blossom from a shy young girl, 18 years old, at Balmoral Castle. I watched the years pass by. She was pushed in the deep end and told to swim. She was told to survive. She was never taught to survive. She learned very quickly, and she did. And through the romantic years, and then through the power dressing years, and then the simple dressing years, becoming a global businesswoman, becoming the most famous woman in the world. Becoming an icon.
I think very quickly the reality set in that she didn't have much in common with Prince Charles, and actually they were very different people with very different interests. And that's when the cracks started appearing, and people have suggested, and we now know that that was very soon after they returned from their honeymoon, so very early on in the marriage. She found her role as the world's most photographed woman both suppressing, but kind of a revelation to her, in that she had this ability to perhaps manipulate the media, have a bit of a laugh and joke with photographers and reporters alike, and equally use this global presence for good. In people's memories, people, I think, still reflect very fondly on Diana for the person she was, for her vulnerability, but first and foremost for her charitable efforts.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning. Were you surprised at the political furore that developed as a result of your visit to England?
I saw it merely as a distraction because I'm not a political figure. I am a humanitarian figure, and always have been and always will be.
We will concentrate, of course, on dissemination.
It's been a very intensive 4 days. I have seen a great deal. I've seen the people affected by landmines. I've seen the landmines themselves. Angola is an example of what the Red Cross can achieve around the world, given the sort of cooperation that we have seen that exists between the Red Cross and the NGOs and the Angolan authorities.
Excuse me, Ray, can you... Hang on, pal. Hang on, 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, firing.
Of course, they are afraid of insecurity and like because soon they get confidence in those personalities with this bone we have in the back here.
I gave Princess Diana an anti-personnel mine, which I hope she keeps on her desk to remind her every day that people are actually risking their lives to try and do something about this problem. And indeed, worldwide, people are actually standing on mines and either being killed or being very seriously injured.
Despite the controversy at home, the princess's campaigning continued today in what's believed to be the most heavily mined town in the world. Already briefed about the political row she'd stepped into, she seemed taken aback by the description of her as a loose cannon.
But yeah, I'm only trying to highlight a problem that's going on all around the world. That's all.
It's been said, though, that you're aligning yourself with Labour policy. Do you think that's wise?
Labour? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what
We have really to keep the programme going.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I remember going to a hospital in Bosnia where a little girl had been blown up by a landmine. She'd been into the field to retrieve her brother's football, and she'd been blown up and lost her legs. She was critically ill, and the princess sat by her bed and held her hand, and this little girl couldn't understand English. And the princess left. The little girl opened her eyes and said to the nurse in her language, "I've just seen an angel." That one moment of humanity changed my life, and I saw the princess in a different light. I saw her as beautiful inside as she was on the outside.
I wanted just to be with you, to show you that you are not forgotten.
Diana did things differently. There was a memo came from Buckingham Palace. "Diana, when you're in public, please wear a hat and please wear gloves, because you're touching the public and you might catch something."
Explain what activity. Hello. Hello. This is David.
Then we go.
Yes, David, on here. There you are. In red. And you. No, again. And it's you. It's you.
We lived in a world of ignorance. We lived in a world where people were not educated. They didn't know. The princess introduced me to the first person dying with HIV and AIDS. I didn't know anything about it until she showed me that world. She would sit and hold people's hands and counsel them. So life with Diana was very different.
We have a battle on our hands. It has to be waged on two major fronts: prevention and cure. As far as prevention is concerned, parents and teachers are in the front line. As a parent myself, I'm only too aware of the responsibility this implies in terms of the kind of upbringing best suited to encourage the child to say no.
She also boosted the morale of the soldiers serving in Northern Ireland. She went to Londonderry to visit the Royal Hampshire Regiment, one of the regiments of which she was Colonel-in-Chief. Even in full combat gear, the princess managed to look glamorous, providing a welcome relief for the men used to the daily dangers of serving in the troubled province. Although an obvious target herself, the princess seemed to shrug off any fears. During the time of the Gulf War, she was there to give support to the wives and children of servicemen fighting in the desert. And she chatted to the fighting men who would soon be on their way to take up arms against the Iraqis. She gave great comfort to many during frightening times.